Chapter 4. A Ballet of Blades. The cart's wheels turned and squeaked. It turned again and squeaked. Lily had grown accustomed to the sound of it by now. It felt almost comforting. She watched the towering wall in the distance, its top far beyond reach. Somewhere along its length lay the gate. The gateway to another world. A world where she might belong. A world where she might finally feel whole. The carriage jolted over uneven ground, and the wind howled through the gaps in the wooden frame, forcing Lily to lean against Fina for warmth. "What's it like beyond?" Lily asked. "Is it similar to Ilskar?" Fina blinked. "Nobody knows. Not even our oldest maps show anything beyond." "So the wall encloses all of it?" "No. In theory, one could sail around it." "In theory?" "The currents are treacherous, shifting without warning, pulling ships first one way, then another, like an unseen hand playing a cruel game. And then there's a fog. It lays so thick that no one has ever even seen the shore. Worse still, some foul magic lurks within it. Any sailor who ventures too close loses their mind." She shrugged. Lily turned her gaze back to the wall, her eyes narrowing as she thought she saw wisps of mist curling around its top. A pang of disappointment settled in her chest. Fina's description was nothing like the warm, welcoming land she had imagined. She hesitated, then asked, "What about your home? What's it like there?" Fina's gaze drifted, and a gentle smile tugged at her lips. "Let's see. Imagine a gem on the eastern shore. That is the capital. Verdant Bay. The port city is the heart of Keld. The land is humid and alive. Picture a place where every corner bursts with color and life. Trees with green leaves larger than your head. And warmth, always warmth. That's Keld. We do not have mighty armies, but the light of Lumar dances in our veins. It makes us strong. Our land is a gateway to the outside world. Trade flows through it, enriching us over the years. Even our fishermen sleep on feather-stuffed beds, a luxury Ilskar could scarcely fathom." She stared at the barren fields beside them, her expression hardening. Lily shook her head and murmured, "An oasis? It sounds like a world apart from here." Fina smiled. I forget. You don't know the Isle. The borders here are unlike anywhere else, or so foreigners say. Conquerors or politics did not shape them. Each region on this continent has its own unique climate. Crossing from one to the next is like stepping from day into night." "How?" Lily asked, amazed. "The spirits of the land, if you ask Pyos, old Nan. Ask anyone else? We don't know," Fina said. Another bump in the road sent a sack tumbling in the wagon with a gnawing sound of metal scraping against metal. Lily glimpsed black plate peeking through a hole in the sack, and her body recoiled as if it were a snake ready to strike. "Get it away from me!" The thought was sharp and instinctive, rising from some part of her she could not reason with. "It will take me back. It will strip me down to nothing." Fina pushed the armor back into the sack and retied the rope that had come loose. Lily pressed against the far side of the wagon, her heart hammering against her ribs. She knew it made no sense. It was just metal. And yet, every nerve screamed that it was more than that it was hungry for her. "Ghalen, must we bring that with us?" Fina asked. Ghalen threw a quick glance back at the sack before returning his eyes to the road ahead.
"I must study it. As far as I am aware, there is no record of such a metal. I need to make sure to—"
Fina cut him off. "Write it down for the history books, I know. But please remember, Ghalen, your people are expecting you to lead them through these hard times, not just write about them." Ghalen grunted in reply. "Could we at least move it to another cart? It is bothering Lily." Lily caught a glance of a lake in a clearing. Fina perked up when she saw it and nudged Galen's shoulder. "Could I suggest a much-needed break? I have not had a proper bath since the battle. Spare a damsel in distress a few hours of rest, my liege."
"Very well. Bior, have the men set up camp here. It seems as good a spot as any,"
Ghalen said, dismounting the carriage. Descending from her perch, Lily looked up at the cloudy sky, searching for a glimpse of the sun, but it was nowhere to be found. She managed only a few steps before an excruciating pain tore through her chest. It was the same searing ache she had felt after healing the king. Sharp, consuming, and far too familiar. A wave of cold followed it, hollow and unnatural, spreading through her limbs like frost. It reminded her of the dreams, of the hooded figure, of the helplessness she had felt when she was enslaved, when she had no voice, no will of her own. Her breath caught in her throat. That power was still there, somewhere deep inside her, waiting. Her eyes fluttered open to see Fina's worried face above her. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You collapsed as soon as you stepped down." Her fainting was brief, unlike her episode when healing Ghalen. She expected to find the wound reopened when she lifted her shirt, but she found no mark. The once searing pain had faded, leaving behind a haunting memory. Sweat ran down her cheek, but she was freezing. Fina's eyes traced the spot where the wound should have been and shook her head. She placed her hand on Lily's forehead, murmuring a hymn, and the throbbing in Lily's head ceased. Fina then commanded some soldiers who were unpacking a cart to start a fire and heat water. They snapped to attention. Soon, she tossed some leaves into the boiling water, brewing a bitter tea, and urged Lily to drink it. "What is that?" Lily asked. "Masam leaves," Fina replied. "They will calm your breathing and help with the fever." Fina's touch was light on her shoulder, but steady. "The hooded ones, the Dark Masters. They come after the dead, after leaders, champions. They drive in that blade, and when the body rises again, they dress it in black steel. Then those blue eyes stare at us. The body just an empty shell." Lily's throat tightened. "Is that what I was?" "You were General of Death, yes," Fina said, not unkindly. "But you didn't stay one. When the master holding your blade fell, you lived. That's never happened before." Lily stared at the ground. "I don't remember any of it. I don't remember being anyone." But was that really true? The dreams, the glimpses, the pain she felt, they haunted her. And the fear that helplessness might return, that the death magic still stirred inside her, just beneath the surface. Maybe she should tell Fina. Maybe Fina could help. But what if she couldn't? What if they looked at her differently? What if they stopped trusting her? "Whatever they did to you, it didn't take your soul. You're still here, Lily. You're still you, and I'll help you find the rest of yourself." Lily's eyes grew teary, so she hurried down to the lake with the excuse to wash away the grime of battle. The water felt icy on her arms as she began, but it felt refreshing to remove the blood and dirt that stained her, almost as if washing away some evil past still lingering on her body. She stared at her reflection in the pool. Water mixed with old dried blood dripping from her face caused ripples in the lake. All sound around her vanished except the drops hitting the surface. She thought she saw a winged helmet on her head and spectral figures resembling herself in the backdrop. Majestic trees with golden crowns blowing in the wind. She spun around, only to see the simple camp. A soldier tending to her hair and Haldor sharpening his sword. When she looked back into the water, her reflection was alone, her face hauntingly pale. Lily approached Pior, meticulously arranging some equipment. Though he cheerfully urged her to rest, she stayed by him, her recent vision in the lake deepening her sense of loneliness. "I can rest here," she said. "Won't you keep me company?" Pior smiled.
"Of course, Lily. Any particular stories you want to hear about today?"
She settled into a tuft of grass, gazing at the expansive sky above. Though calm now, the wind had been their constant companion on their journey. "You mentioned something to the people on the hill. I don't remember exactly how you said it, but it was like a greeting mentioning the wind. And it seems the wind has been with us all this time. Is it always like this in Ilskar?" Pior nodded.
"Aye. The wind always blows in Ilskar. It's closer to being worshipped by our people. It makes us strong, guides us, and wards off those who are up to no good. To us, the wind is a blessing. And what I asked for was shelter. My words swore on my life and no harm in turn. He could not refuse us."
He paused from hauling boxes of armor, looking out across the plains, his expression distant and fond.
"It's called the wind's plea, the words I spoke in the village. One of the rules by the wind. They are more sacred than any laws written by kings."
Does everyone follow them? Lily asked.
Well, if you're from Ilskar, sure. Iranians follow the mountain law, and Kelds follow the word of the tide. Fina can tell you more about those. I'm not much of a scholar.
She hoped one of the stories he tossed her away would ignite some memory, but nothing ever came. What's the city like? The capital we're heading to after the gate? He blinked, startled out of his reverie.
The capital? Oh, Hyphara. It's a whirlwind of a place. Markets that'll knock your socks off your feet. Filled with stuff you never knew you needed. They call Irania the land of plenty. And they're not kidding. Often visit the markets with my daughter.
He paused, a fond smile spreading across his face.
To Sora, my pride and joy. She's got this incredible curiosity and energy. Top of her class at the temple. You'd love her if you met her. Sorry, I gush about her. That's why I try not to bring her up too much. I'll go on forever, or so I've been told.
He coughed and redirected the conversation.
Anyway, where was I? Ah, right, the city. You gotta see the black stone. It's everywhere. The castle walls, dark as night. But in a good way, you know? The obsidian comes from the mountains around here. Harder than steel, that stuff. Before Galen's grandma's peace, only Irania could work it. That's why their crest is 3 mountains.
As Pyra's voice wove tales of the distant lands, Lily lulled into a serene slumber beside him. She could not tell how long it had been when she'd woke up, but the sun still painted the grass with light. She heard distant murmurs as she yawned awake. Ghalen had gathered his remaining banner generals for a briefing, and she was perfectly positioned to eavesdrop. The king announced,
We are deep in the heartlands of Ilskar. Here the merchant's road remains untouched by the ravages of war. This will not only ensure swifter passage, but also lessen the strain on our wagons.
He paused, scanning the attentive faces.
We can afford a brief rest to recover before pressing on. Gwylir's scouts keep these lands under close watch. They will warn us long before any threat approaches.
Drawing a deep breath, his voice took on a somber edge.
In 2 days, we will reach the gate. What lies beyond remains unknown. But I urge you, trust my instincts. I've studied everything about the High Elves and the prophecy. What awaits us will work in our advantage.
My liege, one of the generals cut in.
We are all grateful for the miracle that creature performed, bringing you back to us that night. Truly.
Was that a hint of sarcasm in his voice?
But is it wise to let something so powerful walk freely among us? If passing through that cursed gate restores her memories, who's to say the outcome will be in our favor? This is the real world, not one of your books, my king.
Unless you have a better suggestion to protect our kingdom from the Elgarect, I would have this be the last time you question me, Kane.
With a gesture of his hand, he dismissed the assembled leaders. They responded with crisp salutes before rejoining their units, all except the man carrying the yellow banner with white lines. The Summerwind colors, Pyre had said. And what did Ghalen call him? Kane? Lily noticed him shaking his head as he walked back to his men. He hates me. I wonder if I deserve it. Whispers ran like wildfire through the camp. Though many saw Lily as an outsider, she was not immune to the collective sentiments. She shared in the brief relief of an easier road, yet she could not help but to share in the others' wariness of what was ahead. That's the last of them. I'll be heading off to my side of camp now, Lily. Need help finding our way back to Ghalen? Taryn asked as he hauled the final load of supplies onto a cart. Lily had been trailing him for quite a while during the day, partly to relieve Pyre from having to explain everything to her, or perhaps to avoid his talk all day. I can make my own way back, she replied, waving him off. Ghalen had allowed her to roam the camp without an escort after she saved his life, but he insisted she stay near Haldor or Pyre at night. She had no intention of disobeying after being granted such freedom. As evening closed in, she knew it was time to join the others, who were likely gathered around the comforting warmth of the fire. As the sun passed out of view, her feet got heavier, something that had kept happening every day. Whenever they camped, what little grass there was would quickly be flattened by men or horses setting up for the night. Each part of the encampment always split into the same groups, flying their own flags as they settled in. Moving through the trampled pathways of the encampment, she darted between various banners. Even if she was allowed to, this was the first night she had walked through the camp without an escort. She couldn't help but notice an increase in the number of glances cast her way. Looking at the soldiers, then the yellow summerwood banners, an uneasy feeling crept over her. They wouldn't hurt me. They're Ghalen soldiers. I'm just imagining things. She tried to reassure herself. Distracted by her inner turmoil, Lily didn't notice a soldier in front of her until she walked right into him and fell to the ground. His face twisted with contempt as he looked down at her. "Lost in the dark, demon?" he spat. It was one of the men who usually escorted General Kane. He had brown hair tied in a ponytail and olive skin that caught the fading light. Lily scrambled to her feet, feeling both annoyed and a bit afraid. "I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention." More soldiers gathered, which seemed to boost the brown-haired man's confidence. "I can't understand why our king wastes resources on you. You'll stab us in the back the first chance you'll get. Maybe we ought to teach you a lesson now, so you don't get any ideas." Her anger now far outweighed her fear. She had endured the same harsh roads and biting winds as these men, and if betrayal had been her intention, she'd had plenty of opportunities. "Why would I heal your king if I was against you?" There were 5 of them, all unarmed, but so was she, her body tensed, ready to fight. "I won't be lectured by the king's pet fairy. Hold her down, and you'll see. I'm sure she'll turn back into that demon the second we restrain her." As the soldiers took a step forward, Lily's body reacted instinctively. She lunged at him, driving her fist into his jaw. The man staggered back by the force of the blow, but there was no time for her to hesitate. Another soldier rushed at her, but she sidestepped, delivering a swift kick to his knee, then sent him crashing to the ground. The remaining 3 soldiers paused for a moment, but their hesitation turned to anger. They charged her. Lily spun, dodging the first one's grasp, and landed an elbow to the side of his head, knocking him off balance. As she moved to strike the next, she felt a pair of strong arms clamp down on her from behind. The soldier who had first confronted her sneered. "Gotcha now." With one arm pinned, the second soldier moved in, grabbing her other arm. She struggled against their grip, but they were strong. The man with the ponytail locked eyes with her. "You're walking free," he said, voice trembling with fury. "Don't tell me you don't remember." His grip tightened. "I watched you kill them. So many. My friend, he was already broken. He cried for his wife and child, lying in the mud, and you just stood there. You waited like it was a sport. Waited until he had nothing left. Then you crushed his throat." Lily froze. She felt nauseous. Could he really be describing her? No, it wasn't possible. "I would never." But somewhere, deep in the back of her mind, a sound echoed, a sickening crack, the sharp snap of a man's windpipe collapsing beneath her heel. Or was it hundreds? Her breath picked up speed. Her chest felt tight. Just as she was about to cry out, a commanded voice cut through the night air. "Enough!" The soldiers froze. Lily turned her head to see a figure emerging from the shadows. The presence of a newcomer drained the fight out of her attackers, who slowly released her. Lily straightened, her breath heavy. "The king's prisoner is not to be harmed, Derek. You know your orders. I'll have to discipline you for this," General Kane said, stepping into the torchlight. "Thank you," Lily said as a chill of the evening air caressed her face. Kane frowned at her. "Go on. Before you trip over your own feet, go find your master." He turned away, waving her off. "The boy king chases legends, leaving real men to pay the price for his battles. Madness," she heard him mutter as he walked away. Lily's eyes widened. She was accustomed to the occasional whisper or mistrustful glance, but this direct confrontation was something new. Do they all see me this way? Yet, what hurt her more was the officer's derogatory remarks about Ghalen. A boy chasing legends? It was hard to reconcile this with the reverence Haldor and Pyor showed him. Should she tell them what she had heard? What had she heard? She was still rattled, and Kane was already walking away. He had saved her. Perhaps it would be wiser to remain silent. By the time she reached Pyor and Fina, she felt a semblance of safety again. Fina asked, "Lily, are you all right? You look as pale as the moon. What happened?" "No, it's nothing. I'm just exhausted." She added a quick goodnight and sought the solace of her blankets. The following day, a shadow hung over Lily. Her usual enthusiasm was absent, and when Pyor attempted to engage her with one of his tales, she declined. The wind, which had begun feeling like a gentle companion, now felt biting, causing her to draw her robes tighter as she huddled in the camp. As dusk settled, the soldiers seemed to be in a near-festive mood. She had noticed after crossing into safer territory where the lands had free-roaming wildlife and the occasional farmer tilled the soil, their spirits had heightened, but this seemed like something more. Lily hurried up to Pyor, her curiosity overcoming the unease that had gripped her for the better part of the day. "What is happening? Everyone is so excited." Pyor looked up from unpacking his saddlebags.
Nobody told you? Ghalen has sanctioned a feast. He said it was time to celebrate what minor victories we can. He sent some men ahead to gather some supplies from a nearby village. There is to be a small tournament.
He smiled at her as she felt her own eyes widen in anticipation. The soldiers popped open bottles of what smelled like foul liquid. It was an alchoric spirit, a spoil of war, and they combined it with their week's rations and provisions they had gotten from the village, singing and chanting, engrossed in setting up the tournament to determine the best swordsman among them. They were building several small arenas around the camp. Lily asked what the prize was and felt a bit disappointed. A lone dried sausage one soldier had found in his supplies. Yet, from what she could gather, this meager reward was as precious as gold and jewels to the spectators, having not seen real meat in months. Even Pyor and Haldor watched with apparent interest. Haldor always looked stern, but here he was, if not excited, at least intrigued. Usually, Haldor spent their stops sharpening his blades or practicing with them, while Pyor busied himself with hauling boxes or setting up tents. Fina was scribbling in her parchments, like she did every night. Lily thought she could hear some mutters about stone-brained fools fighting, if not the enemy, then each other. Thinking Fina might have a point, she voiced her concerns to Ghalen. "Is it wise to let them fight for such a trivial prize?" He nodded.
I understand your concern. However, a blacksmith has dulled a few spare blades for practice here. I suspect the biggest hurts tonight will be to their egos, or perhaps a few bruises. Besides, it is Iranian tradition to hold a tournament after a victory. I did not deem it safe until now, but I don't want to dampen morale by ignoring the old ways.
Lily watched from the sidelines as the tournament raged. A stocky Ilskarian fighter, muscles tensed like iron, stood his ground against a flurry of kicks from a slender Keld opponent. The small fighter danced around him, a whirlwind of leather and steel, each strike aimed at the Ilskarian joints. Lily caught herself dodging the blows from the sidelines, thinking how she might have struck differently. Eventually, the bigger man weathered the storm, his broadsword flashing in a slow, deliberate arc that forced his opponent to take a step back. The smaller fighter lost to a hard strike as fatigue got the better of him. As the Ilskarian grinned to the cheering crowd, Lily thought about her own fighting style. Hopefully she would remember something soon. It would be nice to know what to do with a blade without someone swinging right at her. The next fighters took their place, and a different battle unfolded. The two fighters, both clad in colors of Arania, clashed head-on. Their movements were a brutal ballet of clang and thud, their shields and blades weaving in and out in calculated movements. Neither man yielded an inch, their grunts the only sounds that pierced the roar of the crowd. Lily, captivated by the display of skill and savagery, was gripping Pyor's arm. "What are the different techniques?" she blurted out, her voice barely audible in the crowd. Pyor glanced at her with a grin.
Different regions have their own types of fighting,
he explained.
Ilskarians like me, we're more about brute force. We fight like, farmers with pitchforks, really.
He chuckled, a rumbling sound lost in the general chaos.
Iranians focus on discipline and strategy. While we're working the harsh lands, breaking against the wind, they're mastering the art of fencing. And those Kelds?
He shook his head, eyes gleaming.
Their fighting style is like the waves of the ocean they live beside. My nan says that is also why their eyes are blue. But I doubt Ghalen would agree with such tales. Indeed, I might not.
Ghalen interjected with a playful grin, causing Pyor to spring erect.
At ease, Pior.
Ghalen handed an apple and some salvaged ale to him, and then reached his right hand with an ale to Lily. A momentary tremor in his hand caused him to spill some on her.
Damn! Forgive me. Ever since this cut, it keeps...
She grabbed the mug. No harm done, she said, giving him a reassuring smile. He gave a nod back and forced his right hand still with his left. Thank you for the drink, my liege, she said with an awkward bow, causing both Fina and Pyor to chuckle at her. Fina peered up from her parchment and chimed in. We'll need to practice that if you want to be formal in the city. Lily muttered back to hide her embarrassment, then asked why neither Pyor nor Haldor participated in the tournament. I would assume you are both ample fighters, even if I've only seen you battle wolves, she ended with a smirk. A nearby soldier interjected between puffs from his pipe. It's a competition. And with those two in the fray, it would be rather short-lived. Pyor laughed in response, but Ghalen added,
These are the Isle's finest swordsmen. I doubt anyone would want to challenge them over a mere sausage. Perhaps I'd agree with those words about Haldor.
Pyor jested, taking a tentative sip of the pungent beverage.
But as for me, Haldor could skewer me like a wild boar.
There had been a lot of talk about Haldor's prowess. Lily was disappointed he was not fighting. She got up and asked if anyone cared to join her at one of the other circles, to watch one of the ongoing fights after this one had just finished, but they decided to remain as the final would be held here. She headed off, decidedly not in the direction of the Summerwind banners. Ghalen's squire, Leor, ran up beside her. I'd love to watch another match with you, mistress. I mean, Lily, if that's okay. She smiled at the boy. I'd love to have you along. So, which is your favorite style, Lily? I love the Celts. They fight like dancers. It's quite something, isn't it? But the Iranians are in control. That's where I'm from, you know. Leor went on in rapid succession. Lily remained quiet, her gaze dropping to the boy. He was always quieter around Ghalen. He seemed to take his position seriously. As they got close to another arena, she recognized one of the fighters. He had brown hair tied in a ponytail and a bruise on his chin. And here she had tried to avoid the summer winds. She stopped, curious about his strength. As he began fighting, Lily realized he was skilled, likely the best fighter she had seen so far. A quick parry, a sidestep from his opponent, and then his blade was at the other soldier's throat. The bruised soldier caught sight of her and flashed a grin. Want to go next? I'd love to repay you in kind, he said, slowly wiping over his bruised chin. Me? Lily pointed to herself, taken aback. I couldn't. She glanced toward Leor, as if the boy had the authority to let her fight. Leor glanced around. I don't think this is a great idea, Lily. She was inclined to agree, but remembering the blade on the battlefield and how good it felt in her hand took over. Besides, she wanted to teach the brute a lesson, and something inside her said she could, if she just had a blade. I'll fight you, she called out, walking toward the circle. As she entered, a man called from the side. It's the first touch to a lethal spot, disarming your opponent or until one of you yields. Understood? Understood, Lily replied as she stepped into the ring and gripped a practice sword tightly. Expecting to be anxious about facing a duel, she was surprised when, the second she took the blade, a sense of calm filled her. The torches ringing the arena cast shadows beyond its perimeter, rendering the audience invisible. All she could see was her opponent. She wasn't sure of his age, but she noticed some graying hairs in his brown locks. By the decorations on his shoulder, she could tell he was some kind of officer. Ready, princess? He teased. Lily felt a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her. She nodded, not even sure how to begin. As the soldier lunged at her, something instinctual took over. She gracefully evaded 3 blows and with a swift motion disarmed him. She was surprised at how effortless it had been. Turning to face the crowd, she heard a roar as the defeated man retrieved his blade from the ground and slashed at her. She rolled, quickly regaining her stance, and as he came in for a second blow, she delivered a quick slash to his wrist, causing him to yelp in pain and dropped his blade a second time. Lily turned to face the man who kept score on the sideline. He looked surprised, but shook himself. That's enough, Derek. You've lost twice. Want any further blows to your pride, or do you yield? I yield, he squeaked, his voice tinged with astonishment and pain. The victory sparked something within her. As 3 more challengers stepped forward, bets were placed, and anyone wagering against Lily regretted their choice. She bested each contender. Quite a crowd was building now, and by the end of her performance, raucous cheers filled the air, undoubtedly amplified by the crude alcohol many consumed. Just as the 4th opponent was about to step into the ring, a voice caused all the men's murmurs to die out.
What's the meaning of this? Kane, did you put her in there?
Ghalen stood at the edge of the arena, glaring furiously at his banner general. Kane lifted his hands in surrender.
She came and challenged my men of her own free will, my liege. I thought it was by your leave, of course, that you were curious about what she could do.
Leor was standing beside Ghalen with a guilty look. I'm sorry I didn't get you sooner, my liege. It's just, she was amazing. Fina and the others had joined the crowd now, and the priestess had a worried expression as she approached Lily. Are you okay? No pain from your wound? And how could you fight them? Are your memories back? I'm fine, Lily replied, feeling a tinge of guilt, not necessarily for putting herself in danger, but for worrying Fina. My memories are not back. I just know what to do when I fight. Ghalen seemed to be considering this, scratching his chin.
Perhaps. If you were truly challenged, it might spark some memories. Haldor. Yes.
Haldor was already standing at full attention beside Ghalen before he had finished speaking.
If you both agree to it, I will sanction a fight between you. But be careful. Should her pain flare up again, I will call off the match. Of course,
Haldor said, looking straight at Lily. I'll do my best, Lily said, swallowing hard. The crowd was going wild now. The chants of, Haldor! And, show her what you could do, Darkstone! Drowning out everything else she could hear. As he entered the ring, something about Haldor shifted in Lily's eyes. While he had always been calm, collected, and kind, now appeared to be a towering figure. The way he held his blades, one long and one short steel, and his stance made her feel in danger. Her heart raced, and a bead of sweat formed on her temple. She shook off the unease, trying to remember the earlier matches.
One with the blade,
she heard Haldor say. Then their blades met with a clang as he attacked, and it echoed around the arena. Lily moved with grace and swiftness, each swing and parry a dance she didn't know she knew. However, Haldor was a tempest of skill and power. Where her previous opponents had left openings, Haldor was a fortress. Their swords clashed in a rhythmic pattern, creating a metallic symphony that held the audience in rapt attention. The momentum shifted. Every move she made, Haldor had a counter. The more she tried to control the pace, the more he dominated. It was like being caught in a storm, each gust and raindrop pushing her further back. Come on, there has to be something in this head to help me fight. Her stamina waned. The weight of the Pactus sword grew heavier in her hand, and her once fluid movements became strained. In a flurry of steel, Haldor executed a series of rapid strikes, the last of which caused Lily to lose her grip, sending her sword flying. In an instant, he grabbed her blade mid-air, letting his short sword hit the ground and had her pinned, both blades crossed at her throat. The silence was broken only by their labored breathing and distance of crackling torches. Then, the audience erupted in jubilation, with some reveling in their newly won bets. Haldor bowed respectfully, acknowledging the duel. The crowd eventually dispersed, heeding to their king's command to rest. Lily walked back through the quiet camp, the firelight her only companion in the pitch dark. Her limbs ached with fatigue, but her mind refused to settle. Every step replayed in the fight, where she moved too slow, where she overreached. Her instincts had carried her, but they weren't enough. Not tonight. She shrank onto her bedroll, the chill of the forest floor seeping through the blankets. She stared up at the dark sky above, waiting for sleep that wouldn't come. She had not expected to win, but she had hoped. And hope, it turned out, when broken, left a sharper bruise than any sword. Somewhere deep down, she had wished for more. More skill, more control, maybe even a flicker of memory. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she would rise sore and no closer to the truth, but she would rise.